Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Tánaiste, I'm very interested in your views with regard to Garda accountability and what happens next in the context of the Cooke report. We've heard from Acting Commissioner O'Sullivan that the Gardaí have been exonerated from any wrongdoing in her opinion, very similar actually to the words of former Commissioner Callanan, who told us before the inquiry that at no stage was any member of An Garda Síochána involved. Minister Fitzgerald has told us that the report doesn't support any evidence of actual surveillance, much less that it was carried out by the Gardaí. Former Minister Shatter issued a press statement telling everyone that he did a great job and that he had dealt with these matters in a straightforward, truthful and comprehensive way, while GSOC welcomed the fact that they were found to have acted in good faith. So in other words, everyone was right and we are where we were, except for the very big elephant in the room. And the fact that everybody is calling that a kitten doesn't make it any less of an elephant. And that is the huge divergence between the report itself and the way in which it's been spun. Because the reality is the Cooke report didn't find any truth and it didn't find any answers because it was constructed in a manner to make sure that it didn't. The title of the report was an investigation into unlawful surveillance. There was no attempt to discover whether lawful surveillance had taken place. As you know, under legislation it is lawful for senior Gardaí to allow other senior Gardaí survey somebody else. We're told that there was no evidence of Garda involvement. How does Justice Cooke, former Justice, because he's not a Justice, Mr Cooke, know this when not a single Garda was interviewed, not a single examination of logbooks of Garda equipment, stock checks on IMSI catchers and all the rest of it? The biggest security threat identified by Veramis, the ringback, which professionals said the chance of it being benign were virtually zero, has no explanation. So I'm wondering, Tánaiste, what you think of the report, because the report tells us that the photographers at the airport photographing Veramis could have been members of the Garda security branch. The person who leaked the story to GSOC could have tampered with the device inside GSOC. No explanation of who tried to contact Veramis in relation to their inquiry, involvement in the inquiry, and no explanation of why the GSOC Commissioner's phone's batteries were going down and now they aren't. Meanwhile, he acknowledges that under modern surveillance it's not possible to detect. So what I'm asking you, it's quite simple. How can there be a new relationship when we still haven't got the truth? You're the leader of the Labour Party. You're supposed to have a history in justice and oversight. Will you authorise a proper commission of inquiry on a statutory basis so people can get the truth that they so badly need?
Well, I've read the Cooke report, and the Cooke report, it seems to me, is very comprehensive. And it concludes that there was no evidence of surveillance of GSOC by anybody, and not least by the Gardaí. It goes through the different issues that were raised. The module, the piece of equipment that was supposed to be for the conference call facilities, where a lot of the attention was centred on, turns out didn't have a microphone. There was an allegation that there was a second Wi-Fi system. He concludes there was no second Wi-Fi system. He makes it clear that the public interest investigation, which was conducted by GSOC, that should have been reported to both the Minister for Justice and the Garda Commissioner after it had reported, and that report wasn't provided until after the article in the Sunday Times. And he questions whether the public interest investigation should have been conducted at the time that it was. Now, I understand that the whips have discussed arrangements to have the Cooke report debated here in the House next week. I'm sure if there are any issues that members have about the content of the report, that's the opportunity for it to be ventilated. But it seems to me that the Cooke report is quite comprehensive and quite conclusive. I think, if there are issues arising from it, that people, particularly the recommendations which the government accepts should be implemented, then we can debate those in the House next week.
Deputy Daly, 1 minute, thank you.
Bizarre, Taoiseach, that you would refer to the report as being very comprehensive when Mr Cooke himself talks about it being a personal evaluation and that it must not be read as a definitive determination. In actual fact, he's a retired judge. It's a personal opinion. You might as well have had the opinion of a retired dentist or a retired docker, for all the difference that it makes. There is not a single new piece of information in this report, and if you did indeed read it, Taoiseach, you would know that the 5 issues that I even mentioned there are still not answered. So how could it be that comprehensive? You've dodged the fact that it doesn't deal with the issue of lawful surveillance. Why was that excluded? You talk about the public interest inquiry, which, as you well know, under section 102 means GSOC investigate wrongdoing by Gardaí. But if this surveillance was lawful, then there'd be no wrongdoing to investigate. Now, you know, and Cooke reports in this, the backdrop to this was the Boylan affair and the strained relations between GSOC and the Gardaí. We do not know whether rogue elements or senior elements in the Gardaí authorised themselves to have lawful surveillance. And your last point in relation to the public interest inquiry and GSOC's obligations, you have again here, I put it to you, undermined GSOC by incorrectly repeating that they had an obligation to bring that to the Minister. Section 103 excludes them from doing so in the public interest. So can I ask you maybe to read it again, because I'd suggest that you missed a few things in your comprehensive analysis.
No, I didn't. The Cooke report, I think, is very clear. It's an independent examination by Mr Justice Cooke of the issues relating to the bugging or the alleged bugging of the GSOC offices. This arose, there was a newspaper article which stated as a fact that the GSOC offices had been bugged, that they had been bugged by government level or very high level intelligence gathering approach. And it went through the type of surveillance that it felt was taking place. The Cooke report has gone through that. It has found no evidence of that surveillance having been taking place, and no evidence of the Gardaí being involved on it. And it goes through each of the different issues. In my opinion, it's a very fair report. It's very comprehensive, and in my opinion, it is very conclusive. Now, if there are issues that people want to discuss arising from it, as I said, we will have a debate and a discussion in the Dáil on it next week, and that would be the place to raise them, and I'm sure the Minister for Justice will be very happy to respond to any questions that arise from it. But it seems to me that Judge Cooke did a very good job, and I don't think it's fair, to be casting aspersions on the work that he did, or indeed his integrity in the way in which he did it.